This is my first video update from Nicosia, Cyprus on this Friday morning. Let's talk about some news, and let's start things off with Russian President Vladimir Putin. He was speaking at the 80th anniversary, the event commemorating the Russian victory in Stalingrad, and he was speaking there, and I believe that this was his first comments, public statement with regards to the Leopard 2 tanks being sent to Ukraine from Germany, from the collective West. And this is what Putin had to say, and I think this is an important statement from the Russian president. 1 second, let me open it up so I can read you his quote from this speech. During a ceremony to mark the 80th. Wow. We love to honk the horn here in Cyprus and in Greece as well. During a ceremony to mark the 80th anniversary of victory at the Battle of Stalingrad. This is what Putin said, quote, "Unbelievable but true. We are once again threatened with German Leopard tanks with crosses on their hull, and once again seeking to battle Russia in Ukraine with the help of Hitler's followers, the Banderites," Putin said. Those seeking to defeat Russia on the battlefield apparently do not realize that a modern war with Russia would be entirely different for them. We're not sending our tanks to their borders, yet we have something to respond with, and it would not be limited to armor use only. Everyone must realize that, he said. So that was Putin's statement during his speech commemorating the Battle of Stalingrad. And in my video yesterday, I had a segment from former Prime Minister Boris Johnson's speech at the Atlantic Council when he was speaking to a bunch of neocons and neoliberals about the conflict in Ukraine. And Boris Johnson was inferring in his speech to these war hawks that the collective West should continue to escalate because Putin, when he talks about using nuclear weapons or escalating, he's all BS. That's what Boris Johnson wanted to convey in his speech yesterday in the United States. The collective West should continue to escalate, and don't worry about Putin's warnings because Putin is BSing. I listened to these statements from Putin, and if I was Germany, if I were the Baltic states or Poland, I would take this warning. I guess you could call it a warning. I would take these statements from the Russian president very, very seriously. The Leopard 2s going to Ukraine was not so much about actually providing Ukraine with the ability to advance on the battlefield or achieve some sort of battle victory. That wasn't really the point of getting Leopard 2s to Ukraine, specifically German Leopard 2s, i.e. from Germany to Ukraine. That was the key. We have to get Germany to send Leopards to Ukraine. The reason that the collective West pushed so hard for Olaf Scholz to send German tanks to the Zelensky regime was more for the media optics of it. It's the messaging. They want to create the narrative that Leopard 2, Germany sending Leopard 2s to Banderites to fight Russia. They want that narrative out there. They want to convey that message. They want to create the division between Russia and Germany. They want to bring up the memories of World War II. This wasn't so much about providing Ukraine with a way to achieve military victory, though. Yes, the tanks, you could argue that the tanks are going to give Ukraine an added boost, if you want to phrase it like that. But The real reason was all about the picture that Putin painted in his speech. They want that picture out there. They know what they're doing. They understand messaging, and they're not hiding their messaging either anymore. This is pretty overt stuff. That's why it had to be from Germany. Leopard 2s from Poland, from Spain, from the Netherlands, wherever. That's all well and good, but the key was Germany sending the Leopard 2s. The messaging is not lost on Putin, not lost at all, and that's why he is sending a clear warning to the EU. So we had a publication from Switzerland called NZZ is the publication out of Switzerland, and the full name is Neue Zürcher Zeitung, NZZ. And they put out an article yesterday where they claim that CIA Director Burns offered the Zelensky regime and the Russians a peace deal. It was a land for peace deal where Burns said that Russia would get 20% of Ukraine territory, according to the CIA director. They would give Russia 20%, which is essentially the Donbass. And for that 20%, the conflict would be resolved. This is what this Swiss publication claims in their article. They also claim that this peace deal was put together by Burns and Jake Sullivan at the NSA. And this went contrary to the position of Anthony Blinken, Secretary of State, and Lloyd Austin, of course, Defense Secretary. Of course, when they mean Anthony Blinken, what they actually mean is Victoria Nuland. So this is the claim being made by NZZ. It's a pretty shocking bit of news, but this hasn't been confirmed. As a matter of fact, it is kind of being denied. And I say kind of because I'm going to read you the wording, and it's not a very strong denial. So according to Newsweek, the NZZ report is not accurate. That is a quote. Not accurate. And they got a statement from Deputy Spokesperson for the White House National Security Council, Sean Davitt. So he told Newsweek that this NZZ report about a land for peace deal is, quote, not accurate. Now, not accurate is not the same as not true. Not accurate leaves a lot of wiggle room, doesn't it? A whole lot of wiggle room. Was the 20% part not accurate? Was it 25% territory? Was it 15% territory? Was there something more to the peace deal? Or was there something less to the peace deal? In other words, was it territory plus something else? I don't know. But not accurate is not the same as completely false. So I thought that was an interesting, lukewarm denial from the U.S. The fact that that NZZ claims that Burns made secret trips and presented a deal to Moscow. Now, for this, they are saying that Burns never traveled to Moscow. He never presented this deal to the Russians. They say this is completely false. That is a direct quote. This is according to a CIA official. So a CIA official, who we don't know the name of, also went to Newsweek and said Burns did not travel to Moscow, and he never made this. He never presented this peace deal to the Russians. So they're saying that this is completely false. Completely false. Burns to Moscow to present a peace deal. but not accurate with regards to a peace deal presented to the Zelensky regime. Now, we know from the Washington Post reporting that Burns did indeed make a secret trip, a not so secret trip, to Kiev about a week and a half ago. The Washington Post reported that Burns went there to talk about Russia's next military moves, and he wanted to brief Zelensky in person, which we all know is absolutely laughable. The CIA director traveling all the way to Kiev so he can talk military strategy with Zelensky. Come on, man. If you believe that, then I've got a Miele service shop along with customer support to sell you, and an office for rent as well, if you believe that story. But look, we all know that the CIA director did not go to Kiev a couple of weeks ago to talk military strategy. We don't know why he went to Kiev. A lot of speculation is that he went there to coordinate the government purge that took place a day later. That's my feeling. He went there to kind of coordinate and discuss who to throw out of the Zelensky government. But he might have gone there in order to float some sort of peace proposal. Maybe it wasn't something that was concrete. It wasn't like a full document or a concrete plan, but maybe he did go to Zelensky and say, look, you're losing bad. Things are really, really bad. I'm going to cross right here. In a sec. You're losing really, really bad, but maybe we can get the Russians to agree to a deal where we can see that they have the Donbass, i.e. the 20%, this whole 20% thing, and this is our off-ramp. Maybe, but going to Moscow, I don't buy that. I agree, that's completely false. First of all, I don't think Burns needs to go to Moscow to present some sort of peace plan to the Russians. The CIA, the US has multiple ways to float a peace proposal to the Russians. Either way, the Russians, according to NZZ, they discarded this peace proposal. They said this is rubbish. Ukraine also said this peace proposal was rubbish, so nothing came out of it if it is real. But the Burns part about presenting a peace deal to Russia, I think that is completely false. I don't think he made a trip to Russia to do that, a secret trip to Russia to do that. The other part about a 20% land for peace deal, not accurate. Not accurate means that perhaps there's some truth to that story. So the purging of Ukraine officials, since I mentioned that topic, we have two very, very prominent officials former officials and very wealthy oligarchs in Ukraine who are undergoing some sort of purge, of targeting, whatever you want to call it. They are being targeted by the Zelensky regime. We have the former Interior Minister, Mr. Arsen Avakov, and we have the former Dnipropetrovsk governor, and I believe one time richest or second or third richest man in Ukraine, Mr. Igor Kolomoisky, who was coincidentally the oligarch who invented Zelensky. Zelensky is his invention. The party Servant for the People, the TV show that then became a political party, was his invention because he owned the media company after the coup d'etat. He wanted to become the president of Ukraine. He lost to Chocolate King Poroshenko. And so he then invented this whole Zelensky avatar, this whole image of Zelensky. He started it out with a TV show, and then he he moved that TV show, he segued that TV show into a political party, and he got Zelensky elected on a platform of peace. A very clever plan that Kolomoisky came up with, you have to admit. Very, very smart indeed to create a TV show and then name a political party. And the TV show was about a president of Ukraine. It was about a president of Ukraine, and that was the part that Zelensky played. So very clever to create a very popular TV show and then take the name of that TV show, serve it for the people, turn it into a political party, and then run on a platform of peace and win the election. And as Igor Kolomoisky, you think that now I've got power because I'm the puppeteer. I'm pulling the strings of Zelensky. But unfortunately for Kolomoisky, the Americans came in, and the Burns of the world, the CIA deep states of the world, they came in and they said, Kolomoisky, you're finished. Zelensky's our guy now. You're out. We're in. And so they brought up all kinds of charges on Kolomoisky. He had to flee Ukraine. He ended up, I believe he's in Switzerland now, though he has 3 passports. He has Ukrainian, Israeli, and Cypriot. He actually had Privet Bank. It was actually operating in Cyprus. Now it's closed. It's closed down, but he had a pretty big footprint here in Cyprus as well. Washing money. Anyway, I won't go into too many details there. Maybe that's a video for a whole nother time. The whole story here now is that the Zelensky regime is going after the former interior minister and Kolomoisky. Now, Avakov, the former interior minister, this guy's also a pretty nasty dude. All these guys are pretty nasty, including Zelensky. And they're all going after each other now. But Avakov, he was also the interior minister post Maidan coup. Then I believe he was running the secret police as well. He had a hand in Azov as well. I mean, this guy was in deep in all of this stuff. And eventually he left his post, and then he was brought back in like 2019 or 20. And then he left again. Anyway, all of these guys are knee deep in all kinds of bad stuff in Ukraine, but the SBU is now going after them, and they raided their residences and their offices and all of these things, and they're confiscating their assets, and they've basically been targeted, these guys, which just leads me to wonder, is the deep state, the collective West deep state, are they targeting these 2 guys in order to further isolate Zelensky because maybe they were still connected to Zelensky and still helping him out, maybe behind the scenes? Or are they going after these guys because these guys were actually looking to remove Zelensky and overthrow Zelensky? They say that this Avakov guy, he is being targeted because he may have had a role to play in the helicopter crash that took out the current interior minister and his staff a couple of weeks ago. So they say that he may have played a role in that. And Kolomoisky, they're just going after him over corruption, which is kind of ironic that Zelensky, the most corrupt person on the planet Earth, is actually going after someone else for corruption, going after his mentor, his creator. I mean, Igor Kolomoisky is like Zelensky's father. It's like his, if Zelensky is Darth Vader, then Kolomoisky is like the Emperor. Actually, no, maybe the deep state is the Emperor, Kolomoisky's Darth Vader, and Zelensky is, I don't know, a fallen Luke Skywalker or something. I don't know. But I mean, it's like he's going after his creator, you know? I mean, this is the guy that made you. This is like your father, you know, this guy. And now he's going after him. Or maybe the deep state is going after Kolomoisky because maybe Zelensky was still, still had some connection to Kolomoisky. Now they want to remove him completely, further isolate Zelensky. I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. This is some serious palace intrigue that is taking place. But I imagine it's one of the two things. Either they want to isolate Zelensky, or these guys tried to remove Zelensky, and so now they're taking them out. Hard to say. Very hard to say, but it's an interesting story nonetheless, and it just points to the fact that things are not going well for the Zelensky regime. Things are going very, very poorly for the Zelensky regime. Even The Hill, the DC deep state publication known as The Hill, they ran an article yesterday with the title, "The war is not yet over, but Ukraine has already lost." That's the title of their article. The war is not over, but Ukraine has already lost. Now, I'm not going to read you the article because it's pretty standard stuff. Pretty much The Hill says Ukraine fought an incredible battle against the Russians. They surprised the entire world. They inflicted terrible losses onto Russia. They won many battles and pushed the Russians back, and they stopped Putin's military from advancing, and the Russian military is a mess. The Russian economy is a mess. Putin miscalculated. The Russians bungled up everything. They're completely incompetent. Zelensky is a great military leader. Putin is an idiot. All these things, the usual tropes that they throw out there. But Russia's going to win. That's the article. But Russia's going to win. And Ukraine has no chance. And the war is over. That's what The Hill is pretty much writing. And this is coming straight from the DC think tanks and the DC NGOs and a certain part of the DC political establishment. That's The Hill. And they're actually now starting to put a timeline on when this war is going to be over. And that timeline is summer. We're getting from a lot of publications of the collective West now, they are starting to actually put a time limit on this conflict. And they're saying that Ukraine is going to lose. They're going to collapse by summertime. Period. End of story. No doubt about it. Done deal. So we've actually got a timeline now. According to the collective West, they're signaling summertime. Good things happen to those who hustle. So this used to be a bar restaurant in downtown Nicosia called Hustle. And it used to be popular. And now it's closed. Like everything else in Cyprus. Closed down. So anyway, that is the article that The Hill ran. Just a bad situation for the Zelensky regime in general. Just a very, very bad situation. But it hasn't stopped the European Union from traveling to Kiev in order to take part in this EU-Ukraine summit. Did you guys know that there's a summit in Kiev right now where you have a bunch of EU officials, including Van der Crazy, including Michel, and they're in Kiev to discuss Ukraine's accession into the European Union. The EU is actually moving forward with this make-believe that Ukraine is going to get into the European Union, or that Ukraine is even qualified to enter the European Union. The whole thing is theater. It's a joke. But the EU continues to peddle this theater and this joke. And how do I know that this is theater and it's a joke and that they're BSing us? Well, let me read you a memo that Politico got their hands on. This is coming from Politico, not coming from the Kremlin, not coming from Russian state media. This is Politico, and they are reporting that the EU actually sent a memo. EU officials sent a memo to everyone that was going to be traveling to Kiev to take part in the summit. And in the memo, they were very concerned about the optics of the meeting and the optics of the event. And they were so concerned about it that they actually sent a note to everyone to tell them not to dress similar to Zelensky. A dress code, and to make sure that your dress code did not include camouflage, green, or khaki slacks or anything like that, because they don't want attention taken away from Zelensky's attire. That's how you know this is all theater, this is all BS. This is all a freaking facade. And this is what Politico is reporting. In preparation for the EU-Ukraine summit in Kiev that began on Thursday, the Brussels bureaucracy sent out a memo instructing travelers to avoid wearing anything that could distract from the green and camouflage ensemble favored by Ukraine President Zelensky. Sent by the European Commission's Secretariat General last week, the note mandated usual business attire and said anything green, khaki, or too bright should be avoided, according to Politico. The outlet described the instructions as an apparent attempt to reserve the military look for the hosts, and Zelensky in particular. There was no official explanation to that effect, but unnamed EU diplomats who spoke to Politico said it was in line with the expectations to stay consistent with the political message. It's all about messaging. It's all about optics and messaging, which go back to what I was discussing about the Leopard 2 tanks and the message they want to convey there, and the optics of this EU-Ukraine meeting, this summit. The funny part about this story, and this should really be my clown world, to be quite honest, but the interesting part about this story from Politico is that the EU actually believes that Zelensky's camouflage outfit, his theater outfit that he wears, actually wins him favor. They actually believe that people are that dumb and they actually buy into Zelensky's, Castro, Guevara imitation, that it's actually working. Robert Barnes said it best in the live stream we did yesterday, that this whole outfit is just a way for them to try and present Zelensky as some sort of revolutionary, some sort of Fidel Castro revolutionary, fight the power type of person. And the EU actually believes that this is working. Someone needs to send Vander Crazy and Michelle some of the memes and some of the jokes being made about Zelensky and his outfit. I just have the feeling that the EU is like a month behind the US deep state. Like the US deep state, they already know that Ukraine is lost. They already know that the war is over. They're already starting to try and cobble together some sort of peace plan, no matter how bad it is. They're still trying to figure out some sort of way to get out of this. How do we get out of this? How do we save face? How do we win something from this? But the EU is still under the impression that Ukraine is winning. And they're still under the impression that this green outfit that Zelensky is wearing is actually working. It's actually cool. Someone needs to tell Vanderlei in all of this. Ursula, I just got to tell you something. What is it? Russia's economy is not in tatters. And this whole Zelensky outfit, everyone's making fun of it. What? The Russian economy is not in tatters? How can this be? And I like Zelensky's camouflage outfit. It's actually quite pretty. Someone needs to tell her all of this. It's not working. It is not working. Let's talk a little bit then about Nord Stream and we'll wrap up this video. We have an article from The Times. I believe it's The Times of London, is it not? And they're running an article saying that Germany is open to the idea that the West was behind the Nord Stream sabotage. German officials are open to theories that the sabotage of Nord Stream undersea pipelines was carried out by a Western nation with the aim of blaming it on Russia, according to The Times. In a Wednesday report, the British newspaper described the mystery of who was behind the attacks as one of the biggest questions of the 21st century. Yeah, right up there with Epstein killed himself. You have Epstein and you have Nord Stream. Boy, they think we really are a bunch of morons, don't they? The Times also, in their article, they actually say that the fact that they just can't figure out who blew up Nord Stream is really bad because it creates a whole bunch of conspiracy theories. So Germany really has to get its act together and really has to find out who did this. Who could have done it? I have no idea. Who got to Epstein? I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know. Which one is a bigger mystery, everybody? Epstein or Nord Stream? Which one is a bigger mystery? I have no clue. They really think we are a bunch of morons. They really, really do. Poor Germany. Germany just can't figure it out. They just can't solve this one. Too difficult to solve. What an embarrassment for Olaf Scholz. What an embarrassment. If I was advising Olaf Scholz, I would sit him down and tell him, Olaf, just come out and say who did it. We all know who did it. Just come out and say it, and at least salvage some sort of respect for yourself, some sort of integrity, something. At least do that. It's so simple. But he won't do it because he's absolutely frightened to do it. Let me cross here. So they're going to keep on with this charade of we don't know who could have possibly done this to Nord Stream, and the UK is going to run articles, the UK mainstream media is going to run articles talking about the great mystery that is the Nord Stream sabotage. A great mystery. It's a mystery. We don't know who did it. Since we're on the topic of the UK, that takes us to one of my clown worlds, and it has to do with the demilitarization of the UK. Who would have thought that almost 1 year into this conflict in Ukraine, the UK military would be close to full demilitarization? Who could have ever thought that? Well, we got an article from the Daily Mail, and it says, artillery regiments run out of ... artillery. The British Army is stripped of heavy guns after defense chiefs pledged to give 30 working AS-90s to Ukraine. The British Army reportedly has no heavy guns left anywhere in the country after handing them all over to Ukraine to assist in the efforts against the Russian invasion, according to the Daily Mail. Defense chiefs have pledged all 30 working AS-90s to Kiev and are now urgently seeking K9 Thunders and Archer guns to replenish their stocks. The article also says that while the UK military understands that they've been fully demilitarized, according to them, it is worth it. Britain is in a vulnerable position, but the consensus believes it's worth it if it means that it is helping Ukraine to fight Russia. Quite an incredible article from the Daily Mail. And if it's true, it's an incredible outcome for the UK military. Who would have ever guessed that Russia fighting Ukraine, allegedly Russia fighting Ukraine, even though it's Russia fighting NATO and a NATO proxy, but anyway, Russia fighting Ukraine would lead to the demilitarization of the UK. I would have never guessed it, but there you have it. Let's do a final clown world. And in this clown world, I do want to say that perhaps in the 10th sanctions package, that the EU is preparing. Perhaps they may have figured out a way to truly destroy the Russian economy and the Russian Federation. I believe that the EU may have figured it out. And this should be very worrying to Russian President Putin, very worrying to all of Russian society, because if they manage to approve this one sanctions move, then it truly might mean that the Russian economy and the Russian Federation will indeed end up in tatters. And what is that move? Well, it looks like the EU may well be on their way to sanctioning Steven Seagal. That's right. That is right. Hollywood action movie star Steven Seagal should be sanctioned for allegedly supporting Russia's military offensive in Ukraine. A group of politicians with the U.S.-Europe Sanctions Coalition demanded on Thursday, according to EURACTIV reports. According to the news website, a coalition consisting of senior members of the U.S. Congress, MEPs, and Ukrainian parliamentarians handed a list of individuals it wants sanctioned to Swedish Foreign Affairs Minister Tobias Billström earlier this week. The list was previously sent to U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, that actually means Victoria Nuland, and the EU's top diplomat Jungle Joseph Borrell in late December, according to Ukrainian MP Alexei Gocharenko, a member of the coalition who spoke to EURACTIV. So that is it. That is it. It is game over for Russia. It's game over. Once you sanction Steven Seagal, then that's it. The Russian Federation crumbles. The Russian economy crumbles. Putin, his regime changed. They figured it out. Steven Seagal was the key to all of it. Anyway, that's the video, everybody. theduran.locals.com. We are on Rockfin as well. Go to the Duran shop, 10% off. Use the code GOODDAY, and we are on all the video platforms. Telegram, Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute. And I'm trying to cross the street. So I will leave it there. Take care.